where he checkmated the Democrats into refusing to stand for American citizens. It was an unbelievable night of patriotism, of optimistic, celebrating our heroes and America's 250th birthday. And we got some great interviews ahead for you today on the show, including the Border Czar himself, Tom Homan, the interview everybody wanted, and we got him. So let's go.
Let's go.
All right, he's not Tom Homan. He's not even a cabinet secretary. But I argue he's still a huge get. That's our very own Matt DeSantis. Came all the way down to D.C. to help produce the show for me, even though he's no longer my executive producer. Linda Kearns was right about you.
This is a positive statement coming from Rich? I'm already confused and weirded out.
You got some great stuff here for us to talk about. The Pepe the Frog, the guy in the giraffe. This was, what did they call this event, the alternative universe event that they had?
So this is the State of the Swamp event.
The State of the Swamp event, okay.
This aired during Donald Trump's State of the Union address. The keynote speaker was Robert De Niro, but I would argue that the best part of the entire evening was a crazy guy dressed as a giraffe who played the harmonica, danced on furniture, and bragged about how many times he had been arrested by ICE.
Let's take a watch and a listen to this Mensa candidate here. Here's Rose.
Regardless of our political affiliation or whether we engage in politics or not, we all love our country. I choke on that phrase, we all love our country, because our country isn't so lovable right now.
Do we give him the Heimlich maneuver?
In the current climate, declaring love for our country is like an abused spouse professing love for their abuser.
Oh, my.
Regardless of our political affiliation or whether we engage in politics or not, we all love our country. I choke on that phrase. We all love our country.
Oh, I think it just repeated itself. All right. Well, he hasn't fully choked yet, but all right. That was the tease to this next clip, which you argue is the best.
Yeah.
Democrats doing during the state of the so. All right, here we go.
I'm fresh out of an ICE prison in Minneapolis. I've been arrested 3 times by ICE over absurdity, over us being ourselves, over me singing songs like,
giraffe.
Hey, Mr. Tangerine Man, get rid of brown people for me. I'm Aryan white. There ain't no place I'm going to.
Got the harmonica.
And then all of a sudden, he's not ready for primetime player ICE agents with 2 weeks of training come after me. I got arrested in Portland.
Now that giraffe outfit is just
I got arrested
amazing.
in Minneapolis in the last 3 weeks twice. But they can't erase a movement, all right?
He's like the Tony Robbins.
Is 1/1000.
He's like the Tony Robbins of furries. Like he's like if you believe you can achieve and don't stop getting arrested with ICE, it's all in your mind.
If you look closely, he's also wearing a thong, but I would advise you don't look closely.
Maybe Jared can zoom in on the thong for us. In his, is that a giraffe outfit or a cheetah outfit?
I think it's a giraffe outfit.
Because is he supposed to be like a cheetah who obviously he's not, he can't escape ICE. He's not trying to run away from ICE. He keeps getting arrested by ICE, right? So that's not what he's going for there.
Of a lot of marginalized people and what they have to go through in those ICE detention centers. And I want to tell you something right now. There's an announcement. Pumpkin Spice Satan is making his way to the State of the Union. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to rev up the show right now.
That's a
We're
thing?
giving out prizes.
Oh,
we're going to
prizes.
have bingo. We're going to storm the White House with love and compassion.
Pumpkin Spice Satan.
I do.
Does he know it's not pumpkin spice season?
No, that passed.
Oh,
I do
that
like
clearly.
the idea of handing out prizes at the State of the Union, though. I think President Trump missed a golden opportunity.
Do you think they should have given out the emotional support stuffed animals that Canada got?
Yeah, like a T-shirt cannon or something. Just fire it into the crowd.
You have a clip of him asking crazy Nancy Pelosi if she stood up, right? Well, and then he also calls him crazy several times. Let's see, the one that you have here. Well, before we get to that, university students graded Trump's State of the Union address, but they graded it 24 hours early.
Yeah,
is that right?
That's a problem. They all hated President Trump's State of the Union address. However, they were asked about the quality of the address on Monday before it happened.
So before the event took place, these guys had already given it. I'm going to go on a limb. A failing grade.
College kids are telling us Trump's State of the Union didn't go so well. The only problem, it's tomorrow. Rate Trump's State of the Union speech 1 out of 10. 1's the worst, 10's the best. Negatives. And why? I think we all know a lot of reasons. Yeah. What about the State of the Union last night? 1 to 10.
It was like a 1 or 2. I mean, it was all over the place.
Probably just give it a 0.
I'm gonna give it a 1.
And why do you say 1?
I don't think he's very articulate.
How did Trump do at the State of the Union?
0.
I don't really, I didn't watch it.
I didn't really watch it much. I watched it for a little bit, but
The State of the Union last night. How was that? 1 to 10.
I didn't know it was last night. I thought it was tomorrow.
No, you're good. You passed the test. Good job.
In fairness, the one who said I watched a little of it, it's like watching an old football game. Like, you know how the NHL channel will replay? There's a State of the Union channel.
Yeah.
It's C-SPAN 8 the Ocho, and they just replay States of the Union addresses.
It's my favorite channel.
I love that channel.
Yeah.
I pay extra for my cable provider for that channel. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Then we had Nancy Pelosi, the president, asking if she was really angry about the fact that he called her out for insider trading last night. She was not happy about that. But didn't you mention that if you follow the Nancy Pelosi tracker, you make way more money than Wall Street? Right?
Oh yeah, she outperforms the S&P 500 by I think it's like 3 to 1 or something, which is impossible.
It is impossible for anyone to do, right?
No.
Here's a little bit from the president last night.
As we ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market, let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
Good. I love that.
They stood up for that. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she's here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without delay. I wasn't sure if anybody even on this side was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed.
And what did you say? There was a clip of her whining about it? I think I saw a clip of the vampiric one. She was on CNN and she was like, well, you want to talk about insider the crypto. They're making money on crypto.
That bill, because I remember a few years ago they were trying to pass something similar.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's like the only thing that AOC and Ted Cruz ever agreed upon, and Pelosi was like, nah.
Was ending insider trading.
Yeah.
The only thing they'll ever agree on in the history of ever. In the history of ever, and then she still was whining about it. And when he goes, is Nancy Pelosi sitting for that? There's no way that Nancy Pelosi, or standing for that, I don't think she can stand, physically. I mean, I know she's immortal and she's been around for thousands of years, but, well, anyway, I think we have Energy Secretary Chris Wright joining us in just a moment here as we continue along. But that was excellent work, Matt DeSantis, finding
Thank
some
you.
great outrage clips for us from the State of the Union address. So frog or cheetah or zebra outfit?
It was. I think it's definitely a giraffe. So none of the above.
Oh, okay. So it's a giraffe. Right. Yeah. The Tony Robbins of furries, right there. All right, as we continue. And the big story of the hour brought to you by our buddy Dr. Mike Veneria Dental. Go see him today for your perfect smile. 2 locations to serve you in Cinnaminson and Woodbury. I know he's really jealous that I'm here today at the White House doing this media row, and he'd love to be here. I'd love for him to be here too, but you can go see him for your beautiful smile. He is the best of the best, Dr. Mike Veneria, veneriadental.com. All right, this is the interview to get. Everybody wants this one. Tom Homan, Border Czar. How are you, sir?
How you doing?
Great to see you.
Doing all right.
Let's talk about sanctuary cities, because Philadelphia is one.
Sanctuary cities are sanctuaries for criminals. Bottom line.
Yeah.
They say they want to be a welcoming community because they want victims and witnesses of crime that are illegal in the United States to not be scared to report those crimes. That's just a bunch of crap. Because victims and witnesses of crime don't want the bad guy back in the neighborhood either. It's just ridiculous. Arresting an illegal alien, public safety threat, and the safety and security of a jail is safer for the community, is safer for the alien, and safer for the agent. Most of the left saying, we agree I should be focusing on public safety threats and forget about everybody else. Well, you can't say that and lock us out of jail. You can't square that.
Right.
So, sanctuary cities are sanctuary criminals. That's why the DOJ suing them.
New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill, the governor, who claims to be a moderate, signs this executive order saying ICE can't stage by prisons. How does that make any sense? Prisons are where the bad guys are.
And it's not going to stop us from what we're doing. They can sign all the bills they want.
But why would you even do that knowing that prisons are where the bad guys are?
Because they hate Trump. They don't want President Trump. They don't want President Trump to get a win. I'm serious. They're putting politics over public safety, politics over common sense. The number one responsibility of Cheryl is protection of her communities.
Yes.
And by not allowing us to arrest a public safety threat, she's not protecting her communities. Releasing a public safety threat that's in the country illegally back into the public is just plain stupid. So they're blindsided. Let's fight Trump every step of the way. You saw it last night when Trump asked him to stand up. If you put American citizens over illegal aliens, they sat there.
I know.
It's just, we're in a place now I've never seen. I know it's bad, but I've never seen this bad, but we're winning every day. And we proved it in Minneapolis. The sanctuary city, sanctuary state. We walked out there with more coordination with their state and local law enforcement. We are now arresting more aliens in the safety and security of the jail than we ever have before. So I wish more states, matter of fact, Governor Hochul called me yesterday from New York. She wants to have a meeting. So I'm hoping we start making common sense of what we're doing in these cities and working together on public. I'm not asking them to be immigration officers. I'm asking their cops to work with our cops to keep public safety threat illegal aliens off the street.
What you just said is so common sense. And I got to give you credit because you went into Minnesota. You completely, I would say, de-escalated the situation. You got the cooperation. You got them working together. So you deserve tremendous credit for that. Probably the reason why President Obama gave you a medal once. They kind of forget that about you when they talk about you nowadays, right? They don't want to talk about that. I keep reminding them, though, about that fact.
President Obama gave me the Presidential Rank Award for Distinguished Service because I oversaw the record amount of aliens deported from this country. Now I'm doing the same thing with President Trump, and I'm a Nazi. I don't get it.
I shouldn't laugh, but it's just, you're a cop's cop. That's what it is. So you know how to talk to cops, and you know how to get the cops to work. And these local cops want to help, don't they?
And I don't care what people think of me. I'm not running a popularity contest. I'm doing a job. Yeah. Hate me or love me, I'm going to be doing a job tomorrow. Matter of fact, every hit piece I read on me, I'm going to be 65 years old. I'm getting to the point I get tired some days.
You look good.
When I read a hit piece, it's just all right. Let's go another day. So, I welcome it. I'm not running a popularity contest. I'm doing a job for the president, and I think the most secure border in history of the nation. We went from almost 15,000 a day to 140. And the difference is those 140 aren't releasing the country. Every single one are removed. Record number of deportations. People are saying, well, you're not at the level we want you to be at. Well, we just hired 10,000 more agents. Watch what we do. But since President Trump's been in the Oval Office, we got over 700,000 deportations between ICE and CBP. That's a record. I mean, under Obama, the year I got the award, we had 409,000. Now we got over 700,000. We're blowing every record out of the water, and we're going, despite the fact that people say, well, when you say you're going to target, prioritize public safety threats, you're going to forget about everybody else? No. Prioritization doesn't mean you forget about everybody else. We are doing a mass deportation operation. We'll keep the president's promise to do that. We're going to make this country safe again. We already have. Look at the crime numbers. It's all because we're enforcing the laws that Biden administration refused to enforce.
And to your point earlier, Tom Homan, you said, they want us to go after the worst of the worst, and yet they won't let us near the jails and the prisons. Talk to me about drug cartels.
Most secure border in history of the nation. Under Joe Biden, they said that they're much more humane. Under Joe Biden, over 250,000 Americans died from fentanyl coming across an open border. Over 4,000 aliens died making that jersey. Both historic records. His policies were killing Americans at record numbers, killing illegal aliens at record numbers. Now we have a secure border. Border Patrol's not overwhelmed with 15,000 a day. Every Border Patrol agent is on the line, doing their job, securing that border, which means they're seizing more fentanyl. So less fentanyl is getting in, they kill Americans. And we knew as soon as we locked the border down, they would take the maritime. You see what the Coast Guard's doing in the maritime. They're blowing boats out of the water. So we're addressing all of it. And because of that, fentanyl deaths went down, overdose deaths went down. It's because we're playing the away game. It's nice to play the home game when you're talking about baseball. Yeah. When you're talking about drug cartels, it's always best to play the away game, just like we did in Mexico with Mancho, right? That would not have helped when the United States intelligence and our drive, and because President Trump designated them terrorist organization, we're not done. The other day, major hit. We got a lot more hits to do. And
the raid on El Mencho, because he was with his gumad, so that was an easy way to track him down, which was good. That was helpful, because the guy's a creep. But also, they want revenge now. So, you talk about border agents wearing masks. You talk about ICE agents wearing masks, because the cartel members are targeting them out. They're targeting them.
Well, I can say this. If the cartels harm a Border Patrol agent or an ICE agent or a U.S. citizen, hell is coming. Mm-hmm. President Trump designated a terrorist organization. He's going to do everything he can in the next 3 years to wipe these cartels off the face of the earth. Matter of fact, a lot of intelligence reports say they're concentrating more on Europe and Asia now because they know how hard it is to get stuff into this country. They know President Trump is not going to take any garbage. They know we got the strongest military in the world. We got the best intelligence analysts in the world. We're far from over, but wait and see what happens in the next 3 years. I would not want to be a member of the cartel when President Trump's in the Oval Office.
A year ago, I was here. You met my son, who was 10 at the time. He's 11 now. You couldn't have been nicer to him. Talk to me about the missing kids you guys have found.
145,000 kids that we found that last administration wasn't even looking for. And people need, I think you bring that up because a lot of people don't talk about it. Under Joe Biden, nearly just under 500,000 children were smuggled into this country, separated from their families, put in the hands of criminal cartels to be smuggled in the country. They released them to unvetted sponsors. Matter of fact, they lost track of about 300,000 of them. They couldn't find it. They weren't responding to call-ins. They weren't responding to contacts. They weren't responding to home visits. 300,000, just shy of 300,000. And they weren't even looking for them at some point. President Trump's, in 1 year, we have located 145,000 of these children. Not all of them were in danger. Some were just with family hiding out. But many were in sex trafficking, being sold for sex. Many of them are in forced labor. President Trump has saved thousands of lives. We got more work to do. About half of the children, they've aged out. They're 18, 19 years old now. Doesn't mean we're going to stop looking. Just because you're 18, 19 doesn't mean you're forced into forced labor or sex trafficking. So we're looking for them too. President Trump promised he'd do everything he can to find every one of them, and we're going to. After we get done following up on all the leads, we'll go back and go over the leads again. We will not stop until we locate every one of them. I know that about 14 of them are already have died. We're not going to give up on them. Right up to the last day of President Trump, we're going to do everything we can to find them.
I know that that's very important to you. It should get more media attention. It really should, and it doesn't. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for looking after these kids. Thank you for trying to find them. Thank you for not giving up on one single one.
They won't give up on any of them.
And thank you for giving all the credit to the Angel Moms, all the attention to them, too. It's Angel Mom Recognition Day, and I appreciate that very much as well.
Look, Angel Moms are they're the main reason I came back the second time out of retirement. Yeah. I took a huge pay cut to come back, but when you talk to the hundreds of angel moms and dads I talk to, how do you not come back and fight the fight? they bury their children. They want to talk about President Trump and family separation during Trump 45. You want to talk about family separation? Talk about the thousands of moms and dads who were separated from their kids because they buried them. I'll never forget them. We're always going to fight for them.
Tom Homan, it's an honor, sir.
Appreciate
Keep
it.
up the great work.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. All right, she's fresh from Milan, Italy.
That's
Ambassador
right.
Kelly Loeffler. It's great to see you, Ambassador.
Well, call me Kelly. I'm the small business administrator, and I spend all my time with small businesses, just standing side by side with them. It's a great honor.
I appreciate that. But I got to ask, I've always wanted to go to Milan. I mean, I'm Italian, so, did you love the food?
I mean, well, we hardly got to eat, but I have to say Italian coffee and Italian pastries are a beautiful thing. And I kind of lived on that because I was there 2 days.
Yeah.
We had very long days, so we doubled down on breakfast and just hit the ground running and did have a little pasta at the end of one day.
That's good.
Beautiful.
There are a lot of small businesses in this country that sell and make pasta and, breakfast treats and coffee and everything like that. How are we doing with them right now?
Well, look, our small businesses are the absolute backbone of this nation. They do everything from feeding us, clothing us. It includes our farmers. It includes manufacturers. And I've been on a national manufacturing roadshow, and they are so grateful that this president has brought manufacturing made in America back to this country.
Love that.
Most of our manufacturers meet the definition of a small business, and there's going to be a hiring boom, a production boom, and we're going to really restore industrial dominance in this country.
I love that. Industrial dominance.
That's right.
Not just getting by, we're going to dominate.
That's right. Energy dominance leads to industrial dominance.
That's fantastic. So the optimism is back.
Absolutely, and look, don't take my word for it. It's in the data. Small business optimism is now above its 52-year average. It was not under Joe Biden. They love the working families tax cuts, making the pass-through deduction, 20% deduction permanent, the expensing, health savings accounts for employees. I mean, the list goes on. The bill is so positive for workers, for small businesses. It's even hard to grasp all the benefits, but I think we'll start to during this tax season when refunds start to come out.
Ambassador Kelly Loeffler is with us. Now, small businesses, it's scary. It's risky. Right?
Very much so.
Start a business, and some people leave their safe, cushy corporate jobs to do that. But what are the resources where they know that they can try? Because that's the American dream, right? Isn't it? Like going out there on your own, that entrepreneurial spirit.
Absolutely it is. I grew up in a small business, small family farm, a trucking company that my dad started. And look, this is about the American dream, but small businesses have never done better than they have under President Trump because he understands business. He puts power, he takes it from the government and puts it in free enterprise. So what happens when small businesses get crushed with regulation, with inflation, with things like the Green New Deal, they're trying to run their business.
Yeah.
As you say, it's a hard thing to do, even in a good environment. They've put everything on the line. It's their net worth. And so what the SBA does is provide access to capital, because capital is the lifeblood of business.
Great.
They've got to hire employees. They've got to purchase plant and equipment or make some investments in technology. We actually changed some of our rules under Joe Biden. You couldn't use it to purchase technology. Now you can.
Good.
I mean, imagine that. And
wait, you couldn't use it to purchase
you couldn't
technology?
Use it for automation or for automated payroll or any of the systems. So look, some of the agency's been around 72 years. So we've modernized the SBA.
Good.
In 2025 fiscal, we had a record year in its 72-year history doing 85,000 loans for $45 billion. So leave it to President Trump to not only set a record for number of small businesses at 36 million, which now make up 99% of all of our businesses, but to set a lending record. And we did it with half the staff at the SBA that we had when we came in. So we cut the agency headcount by 54%.
Love to hear that.
More business than ever.
Music to my ears right there.
Yeah, amen.
And how important is it, you say made in America, and that matters. But for some people, it's like, well, I could just buy this cheaply made in China crap on Amazon or something like that. But for a small business owner, you buy something made in America. That means something. You're by your purchase, you're actually investing in your own country.
That's right. I've talked to manufacturers about this, and some have built their supply chains around China, but But they started to change that years ago, even before there were incentives like COVID to do that, because they started seeing the intellectual property leakage. They saw the quality control issues. They saw the slowness in the ability to react to consumer preferences or innovation. So that has started, and there is a consumer preference for made in America. Now, you mentioned, cheap goods. I mean, you often get what you pay for. But in America, we need a supply chain that's resilient. There was a Wall Street Journal article that said we don't even make screws and nuts and bolts and fasteners anymore. We have to get back to building in this country, and we are. And I see that every day across the country. We've had delays in building out our grid because we've become reliant on China for components in our grid.
That's crazy.
It's very dangerous. And then we see pharmaceutical supply chain on the other end of the spectrum. That's extremely dangerous. So that's what this administration is about protecting the safety, security, and economic strength of this country.
We bought sleds that were made in America the other day for our kids.
That's great.
We were sledding. It was great, and I was happy to do it. I mean, it said made in America on it. That's what sold me on it. I didn't even care if it was a few dollars more. I think it's to me, that's an investment right there in my own country. That's how
right.
I look at it.
Yep. And we're seeing whole industries being reshored. I was touring a bicycle manufacturer in Seymour, Indiana, that's going to be able to mass produce bikes with a fraction of the number of employees that we used to have because of advanced manufacturing. And it brings jobs to a small town that otherwise would not have these good paying jobs and the additive benefits to the tax base that supports the school system, supports knock-on effects from great jobs and families going out for dinner now. So it's a really virtuous cycle, and I'm so honored every day I'm traveling around to small businesses, hearing their concerns and being able to take them back to Washington and not bringing Washington into small businesses.
I can tell you love your job, don't you?
I absolutely do.
You do. The enthusiasm on your face, and it's stuff like this, too, where so you posted this on X, Kelly Loeffler, and I love this, too. The liberal media doesn't get it. We are proud to be Americans. That includes patriots like John and Tony, whose parents came here, built a generational small business, and lived the American dream. Incredible to Jimmy's Seafood and thank them for their love of the USA because they said to the men's hockey team, lifetime supply of crab cakes.
These are patriots.
Beautiful thing.
And they are at the center of their community, like so many small businesses. And they get emotional when they talk about their dad coming over from Greece in the 1960s and taking risks and starting a business and hiring his first guy. And they are so humbled to carry on their dad's business, and the community supports them. They have a great product. That's the best of America. It's authentic. It's real. This is what makes our country strong. And the president knows it. And he always says to me, Kelly, small business is big business. And it absolutely is.
And how are the crab cakes?
Oh my gosh, they're delicious.
That's it's a bold statement right there. You know?
I mean, it's like 8 ounces of crab right there, and with very little filler. So it was
beautiful,
very strong.
Beautiful. Well, I think people listening who are thinking about starting a business can feel very confident this administration has their back.
Absolutely. And we think it's just the beginning. We know there's a lot of work to do to climb out of the Bidenomics mess that for 4 years just put the government in front of free enterprise and Main Street. But those days are over, and we're back to exceptionalism and strength on Main Street.
Ambassador Kelly Loeffler, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Great to be with you.
Great to see you.
We're coming to you live from the White House, Media Row, after President Trump's triumphant State of the Union address last night. The longest in history, but out of patriotism, honoring heroes, recognizing the incredible greatness of America for our 250th anniversary. A beautiful, beautiful thing. We've got some great guests for you throughout the afternoon today, or whenever you're listening. I want to thank our great friends at the Grand Hotel of Cape May, New Jersey, especially for sponsoring the show. You know, they are my happy place, and I'm so excited to be able to go there and to spend some time with their kids this spring break. They love it there. My kids love the Grand Hotel. We have a heated pool, heated indoor pool. And here's the thing. When you go, they have specials. The longer you stay, the more you save. But every package includes breakfast. This kid's got to eat breakfast. And my kids love the pancakes at Hemingway's restaurant. Absolutely love them. And they love the heated indoor saltwater. Heated is the key, 84 degrees. Always kept at 84 degrees. And there's a hot tub and a game room for the kids. And it's just so much to do. There's the arcade. You got mini golf. You got it all. So make your reservation today at grandhotelcapemay.com. You're going to be stuck at home with them. You don't want to fly to Mexico right now because you're probably going to get killed. But, I'm just saying, it's safer to go to Cape May than it is. Because we were thinking about Cancun. I was like, well, sure. Yeah, until the Mexican drug lords get taken down by the military police, and then you're stuck inside a resort. And the food's not that great. Or what do you do at the Grand Hotel? You don't have to worry about that. The odds of a cartel being taken down extraordinarily low. Extraordinarily low. So I think you should make your spring break reservation plans today by going to grandhotelcapemay.com. Grandhotelcapemay.com. And do that. You'll have a lot of fun. Make sure that you join us for our live events in 2026. And if you're looking for a place to do a wedding, Grand Hotel Cape May is the perfect place. They have a certified wedding planner and my friend Caitlin, who will take great care of you and make sure that you have the wedding of your dreams. GrandHotelCapeMay.com.
All right, I'm really excited. This is he's bringing the high energy Secretary Chris Wright. How are you? It's great to see you. Welcome to the Rich Zeoli Show. I appreciate you being here.
Rich, thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here. Was totally energized by the president's speech last night.
Yeah.
We revive an optimism in our country.
AI data centers, so incredibly important. And the president said, you're going to have to build your own power plant, essentially. Explain to us what that means and how that process works.
Yeah, so AI data centers, very energy intensive. If President Trump had not won and we had continued to shrink our electricity generating capacity in the United States, we'd be irrelevant in AI. China would lead, maybe the Middle East, somewhere else, all these data centers would be developed. He was passionate. We got to do it here in America. Yes, we can build big things in America, not just data centers, but the energy to power him. So he completely pivoted from the Biden policies. They closed power plants, drove electricity prices up 30%. That's quite an accomplishment in 4 short years. President Trump stopped the closure of 17 gigawatts of coal plants just in the first year we were in office. That power was critical. If we talk about Fern, that cold weather event we went through, God bless we had those coal plants working. But President Trump said to these hyperscalers, we want you to build in America. We want your investments. We want the tax dollars. We want the jobs. But you can't drive up electricity prices. Americans are upset with what the Biden administration did. And so it's been a great cooperative dialogue between our administration and them for over a year now. They are all in. Like we saw yesterday as I was walking on the floor, Indiana announced they're submitting to their Public Utility Commission a request for a rate decrease in Indiana, a rate decrease. We announced some loans this morning from our Department of Energy across the states of Georgia and Alabama, and both of those states have announced 3-year rate freezes. That's in nominal terms, so inflation adjusted, that's a slow decrease in electricity prices. But that's the future with President Trump's leadership and with our partnerships with data centers, where you see investments and new things going. You will see electricity prices frozen or decline.
So I actually live in New Jersey, and people have been uploading their energy bills to the governor because, the last governor shut down all the coal-fired power plants, and this governor's all in on climate change. So she put up a portal to report pictures of ice, and people have been sending them their power bills to that to show how expensive this has been in that state, because now we got to bring in all the energy to New Jersey. And you see that with a lot of these blue states, right, where they have completely gone the opposite direction of what you're talking about, and they've dismantled power plants.
And the impact on citizens there is simply tremendous. If we take New Jersey, New York, and the 6 New England states, that's 20% of America live in those 8 states. And new investment, like a new power plant, a new industrial facility, a data center, 2% of that investment in America goes in those 8 states. 20% of the population, 2% of the investments. What do those investments bring? They bring new job opportunities, which bids wages up. They bring new tax dollars for the governments to provide services or pay for their overspending. But those states have done everything they can to raise the price of electricity, which just means businesses aren't going to invest and locate there, and residents just live poorer lives because they pay so much for their bills. These are choices that politicians made. There's no reason to have expensive electricity in New Jersey, New York, or any of the New England states. That the Marcellus Shale in Pennsylvania and under New York State is the lowest cost natural gas production on the planet. Like, you should have wildly cheap electricity prices, and they should be going down a little bit every year for as far as the eye can see. That's what a normal energy policy in New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, Maine would bring. And President Trump, God bless him, his goal is not to lower electricity prices in red states. His goal is to lower electricity prices everywhere for all Americans.
Yeah.
Gasoline prices, energy, electricity prices, food prices, housing prices, and common sense policies can do this. We should not have had the high inflation we had. We should have more upward pressure on wages. Common sense, that's what common sense will bring.
I was going to say, Secretary Wright, I've often said that I think the war on energy under the previous administration is the reason why we have the record inflation. A big part of the reason why.
It is a big part of the reason why, because energy is not just directly what you and I pay for it. It's the biggest input cost in food. It's a huge input cost in housing and manufacturing of all kinds. If you make energy expensive, everything becomes more expensive, and job opportunities shrink. They just migrate out. I lived in California, I hate to admit, for a long time. California had Silicon Valley, the defense industry, finance industry, tech, AI, had everything going for it. It has the highest adjusted poverty rate in the nation today. They took abundance and opportunity, the land of opportunity, and they made it the roughest state to live in out of all 50 of our states. Now, New England and New Jersey trying to give California a run for the money.
Yeah.
But right now, California is the leader in the highest adjusted poverty rate. This is U.S. Census Bureau data of any state in our country. You get energy wrong, you get everything wrong.
Heck of a job by Gavin Newsom, huh?
Yes, and he's proud of it.
I know. That's the crazy part. These guys brag about this stuff, right?
It's crazy to see it. In fact, we saw it at the State of the Union last night. The president's agenda, again, in simple terms, is lower your costs and raise your wages. Yeah. And the Democrats couldn't cheer for any piece of that. They don't want Americans to have lower costs. They don't want more job opportunities and an upward push on wages. They don't want the government focused on security of American citizens. It was surreal. I was right on the aisle. So, to my right was all the Republicans, and to the left was all the Democrats. And it's a pretty shocking sight, I would say.
Did you try to grab a selfie with the president?
I did not.
Okay, because I noticed that. I called it the selfie State of the Union. I've never really seen that before. Like, they stopped the leader of the free world for a quick photo op on his way to give this. But he did it. I mean, he was nice enough to do it with everybody. So
incredibly generous and kind. Yeah, I mean, of course, I see him all the time.
Yeah,
but if you're a member of House or Senate, that's a less opportunity.
Yeah.
But it does tell you something about him, in the Oval Office when people visit, whatever company they're from, whatever country they're from. He's an incredibly gracious host. Anyone that visits him, he makes feel special. He's got time for you. He'll accommodate your request. He'll give you a straight answer no matter what your question is. That installs confidence. Businesses want to invest with people they think are shooting straight with them and are honest. He might disagree with you on things, but you'll know it, and he'll tell you right up front. That's the kind of investment climate that's going to see so much new investment in our country, and again, these job opportunities that are going to bid up wages for Americans.
Talk to me about nuclear power. I am a big believer, huge fan. Obviously, along with natural gas, which we mentioned, we talked about, critical to Pennsylvania. 3 Mile Island, that mothballed reactor, back open again, right?
Prematurely closed, sadly. Now, part of that was the crazy Biden-Obama energy policies, where you subsidize wind and solar. So when the wind blows during the day, they get 4 cents a kilowatt hour just because their turbine is spinning. And so they put daytime electricity prices often negative. So you're a nuclear power plant. You're running 24/7. They just crush the economics of the reliable things on the grid by overpaying for the unreliables.
Interesting.
But the total cost of electricity went up. But when you buy it in 15-minute increments, they had a lot of no things. And then, of course, at peak demand, when the wind stops blowing and it's cold in the evening, wind and solar are gone, and it's all the other sources that have to come together to deliver that. So the distortions in the electricity market, starting with President Obama, just really crushed nuclear. They crushed coal, they crushed natural gas, and they led to this structural messing up of our electricity grid. So President Trump and all of us that are working with him, It's a bigger problem to fix the electricity grid. I would have said a while ago, this is a 5 or 6 year project. President Trump's like, no, it's not. You got to do it faster. No, it's not. You can do it now. You can do it now. Well, that's the normal way. Find the non-normal way. So this deals with data centers. All right, they're going to put money up front. They're going to pay for some of these fixes. They're going to not just pay for their own power, but they're going to help fix the grid that got messed up for everybody else that's unrelated to their power. So Trump's speed is going to allow us to completely turn around the train wreck of the electricity grid, in the first couple of years of this administration.
I mean, I think most people listening had no idea that that's how it works in these 15-minute increments, and you got wind and solar and all these other things coming online in the grid. I think they just assume that it's going 24/7 and it's just powering all the way. But the left's climate agenda was purposely trying to derail that. I mean, it was trying to on purpose.
To enable them to close these plants. Oh, well, it's unprofitable. That's why it's closing. Well, what do you mean it's unprofitable? Let me give you a couple other numbers. So California, and Gavin might brag to you about this, the median price of electricity. So during the midpoint of prices, well, it's lower than it was 15 years ago. But the overall, your electricity bill is more than doubled from where it was. So They designed the market so that it crushed the reliables and allowed the subsidies of the unreliables. But here's what happened in that very cold weather event we had. New England's the perfect poster child here. In New England, so what matters is peak demand time. Doesn't matter. Middle of the day right now, we get hundreds of gigawatts of extra power. Doesn't matter. The wind blows. Well, it just means that a natural gas plant turns down or a hydro plant releases less water. But at peak demand time, that's when the grid matters. So at peak demand in New England, I think it was on January 25th, like 7 o'clock at night, wind, solar, and batteries delivered 2% of New England's electricity when it mattered the most. We got 3% from burning trash and wood. 50% more than wind and solar and batteries combined. The biggest source of electricity generation was burning oil because they wouldn't put a big enough natural gas pipeline to power the natural gas plants. They have to switch to oil at peak demand times, or half of them are burning gas, half of them are burning oil because we don't have enough gas.
Right.
But trash and wood delivered 50% more electricity than wind, solar, and batteries when it matters. So all that money, and what did it do when it mattered? All across the whole eastern 22 states, so smeared out over those states, smeared out over several days, the output from wind, if you compare it to the same week last year when it wasn't a crazy storm, was down by 40%. The output from coal, up 25%. The output from natural gas, up almost 50%. And nuclear flat. Nuclear steady. It works no matter what the weather conditions are. And we are passionately committed to a nuclear renaissance. You will see dozens of new nuclear reactors under construction during this administration because more energy is better than less energy. Cheaper energy is better than expensive energy. And you want diversity of sources. You want gas. You want nuclear. You want coal. You want geothermal if we can get it. If you got hydropower, you want that too. But if something's intermittent and unreliable and the government has to pay for it, maybe you don't want as much of that.
Well said. Secretary Wright, thank you so much. Energy Secretary, you're doing a great job. Keep up the great work. I appreciate it very much.
Thanks for what you do. God bless Philadelphia.
As we continue, a big theme of our 250th anniversary, of course, is freedom in 1776. And obviously, all those who defended this country and were able to overthrow the crown would not have done it without guns. Bottom line, they needed guns. And in fact, it's one of the things that led to the revolution was King George III signing an executive declaration taking away the firearms of the colonial system. Bob's Little Sport Shop, for 60 years, has been defending our freedom and liberty. And they would love to see, they have the best selection of firearms anywhere. And they have gear, and they've got ammo, and they've got wonderful coffee and clothing and hunting gear and everything you can imagine. Plus, Bob's has classes. So, for example, on March 1st at 1 p.m., they have the ladies-only shoot coming on. And it's women-only instructors, too. Because a lot of times you think, all right, I'm intimidated. I don't have a firearms ID card. I don't have any experience. You don't need either of those things. All you need to do is just go to Bob's Little Sports Shop and learn with their certified instructors. They've got a great range. I took a buddy of mine there recently. He didn't even know they had a range. I said, yeah, they got one of the best ranges around. So bobslittlesportshop.com is where you want to go. Check out their classes, check out their schedules. And remember, this country would not be this country without the Second Amendment. And Bob's, they fight for freedom and liberty every single day. bobslittlesportshop.com, my go-to place. I just went there. I stocked up. I'm going to be stocking up again very, very soon. And they teach you how to properly use a firearm. That's key as well. bobslittlesportshop.com. This ad sponsored by Bob's Little Sports Shop. It's a real honor to have a man in uniform with us here today, Admiral Brian Christine. You are the Undersecretary for Health. I want to make sure I got the Assistant Secretary.
That's right.
Okay, so I'll say that again. So because we're going to edit this. Admiral Brian Christine, Assistant Secretary of Health of the United States of America. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it, Admiral.
Rich, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. This is a great day.
Yeah.
It's a great day after a great State of the Union, referencing all the amazing things we're doing at the Department of Health and Human Services and across the administration to make our country great and healthy.
So let's talk about that, because I've got 3 kids, and I want my kids to be healthy. I think I speak for every parent out there. We're making progress, obviously, but we still have a long way to go, right?
We do.
What are the things you're most proud of, Mr. Secretary?
I think probably the thing that makes me the most proud, well, number one, serving the people of this country by serving President Donald Trump and working with Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Incredibly proud of that, to have that opportunity. But in terms of what we're doing, I think you heard President Trump talk about this last night. What we're doing at the Department of Health and Human Services, we are making prescription drug prices more affordable. We're giving people options on how they can have their health care delivered. President Trump referenced the most favored nation drug pricing last night. That's incredibly important. For years, as Americans, we've had to pay higher prescription drug prices, for instance, than countries in Europe, for instance.
Yeah.
Now with the most favored nation pricing for prescription drugs, we are finally paying less. We're not paying more than they are paying other places, which is great, and that list of drugs that are covered continues to grow. He referenced as an example of that some of the fertility drugs. He had a woman, I believe, last night who had benefited for this with her fertility journey. There's an example of how Americans are paying less for their health care. He mentioned TrumpRx, where we're directly connecting patients with the lowest prices possible for prescription drugs. I think what we're doing for affordability is so incredibly important, and I'm glad the President mentioned that last night, and I'm glad that I'm able to talk about that today, because we are truly putting money back in the pockets of Americans when it comes to health care.
Are there, critics would say, is this the government interfering with pricing of drugs?
Listen, I think anything that we can do to deliver the best health care that we can, to make this country as healthy as we can be, and deliver lower pricing, that is a win for everybody. There's no question about that.
What would you like to see accomplished next, if you could have your kind of wish?
I think that one of the things I do want this country to do is to really embrace our new dietary guidelines. Just a few months ago, we released our new dietary guidelines, where we took the old food pyramid that we knew when we were kids, and we flipped it on its head. The old food recommendations and guidance were based upon sugary, fake, highly processed foods. Now what we're recommending nutrient-dense foods, protein from beef, chicken, fish, eggs. We're recommending fresh fruits and vegetables, not highly refined sugary things. We understand that healthy fats are a good thing. So our dietary guidelines are going to make Americans healthier, certainly in the short term, make them happier and feel better. In the long term, this is going to help us treat the epidemic of chronic disease, diabetes, hypertension, obesity. Americans will benefit in the long term, both in their health but also in cost savings. And if you eat by our dietary guidance and don't eat the sugary, fake processed foods, it's actually cheaper. I've done the experiment. I've talked to multiple people in the grocery store who say they're doing the exact same thing. So again, we're making the country healthier. We're putting money in the pockets of Americans. Affordability and increase and improvement in health, that's what we're all about at HHS under Secretary Kennedy and President Trump.
I'm so glad you said that, because the food pyramid, I grew up following it, and I was a tubby kid.
Yeah, because I was stuffing myself with 6 to 12 servings of whole grains every day, right?
Exactly.
And they told us butter was bad, and you got to do, I can't believe it's not butter, with Fabio on the horse, right?
That's
Fried on the horse. And it was all wrong. And they said eggs, you got to get rid of the yolk, and you can only have the egg whites. And I mean, there's so much of this. And then you look at the French, and they use butter and everything because it's delicious.
Right.
And they're living longer than us, right?
No, I mean, exactly. And so if you look at our new guidance, the things we're saying, we are not afraid to say the old guidance did great to benefit big companies that make sugary fake food, but they didn't do anything to help the true health of Americans. And they helped lead us down a pathway of chronic disease that we're suffering from now. These guidelines, to your point, if you're going to eat eggs, great. Eat the whole egg because that's healthy. That's good for you. I love the idea that we are really putting emphasis on nutrient-dense protein. I love the thought of American fishermen on American trawlers leaving from American ports.
Yes!
Buying, fishing and giving us the best, the highest quality, safest seafood anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And so there are so many wins that we're doing. So that's really important that we implement these guidelines, that we continue to fight for affordability. And then something else that's very important to me, President Trump touched on this last night when he pointed out the individual, the young individual, who they tried to talk that person into having, quote, gender reassignment.
Oh, God.
One of the things that we did at HHS is back in the fall, we released our gender dysphoria in minors report. That what it is, we looked at all of the science, and we said, no, gold standard science says you don't treat these vulnerable children with mutilating surgeries and castrating chemicals.
Thank
How
God.
you treat them, that's right, thank God. How you treat them is with compassionate, competent mental health care. That's what these kids need. My predecessor, Levine, as the Assistant Secretary for Health in the last administration, all he cared about was trying to push kids to these sex-rejecting procedures and chemicals.
Yep.
What we did with our gender dysphoria report, we said, we've looked, this is gold standard science, and science says we treat these kids with compassionate mental health care. That's huge. And I will tell you, as the Assistant Secretary for Health, I am not taking my foot off the accelerator on this issue. It is so important to the American people. We're going to protect our kids. We're going to protect our vulnerable kids. We're going to make America healthier. We're going to make health care more affordable. We are going to put money, and we are putting money, back in the pockets of Americans.
You know, Admiral, when you first sat down and I blundered your title, and the reason for that is because you're not wearing a dress. And I'm used to the Assistant Secretary of Health wearing a dress
I am
as a man.
I'm a man in a man's uniform, and it's an honor to serve the people and an honor to work with Secretary Kennedy. And as I said, an honor to serve the president. No, I'm very proud to wear this uniform.
I'm proud to sit here across from you, and I'm really proud of what you said, because I have three. Like I mentioned, I've got 3 kids, and I think we'll look back on this as the dark ages of America, where we allowed these $500 billion industry, doctors and hospitals and insurance companies, to profit off of mutilating our children and drugging them with drugs that were not approved for stopping puberty, for example.
It's exactly right.
And that if you said it was a mental health crisis, they would say you're the problem.
That's right. And when you talk about using compassionate care to help treat these children, they would criticize you for that. No, the science is clear. We've proved that in this administration under Secretary Kennedy and the president. We've proved that we're doing the right thing for our children. Again, we're not going to take our foot off that accelerator, because all it takes is one election cycle for us to lose the gains we've made, whether it be from our healthy guidelines and our decreased pricing for drugs to protecting our children. All it takes is just an election or two, and it's all gone away. So we're going to continue to fight for America.
I mean, that was when the president talked about that little girl last night, and how this judge says, if you don't recognize that she is a boy, you can't be with your parents.
Amazing.
I mean, that's horrible.
That's
Put her
criminal.
in the system, and
it's terrible. It's terrible. We're fighting to make that and to make sure those kind of things don't happen. And like I said, this country is going to be healthier. People are going to have more money. Our kids are going to be safer. We're continuing to win on all fronts.
Yeah, Admiral, it's an honor. Keep up the great work, my friend.
It's a blessing to be here. Thank you, and have a very blessed day.
Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Joining me now, very excited, Kyle Diamantis, Deputy Commissioner for Human Foods at HHS. Did I get the name right?
That's right. You nailed it.
I nailed it. Diamantis. Is that Greek?
It is Greek. That's right. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So you're Deputy Secretary for Human Food.
That's right.
Talk to me about human food.
That's right. Well, it's an interesting title because food is food. But we do have an animal food portfolio, so we try to differentiate between the human food and the animal food. But the position is essentially overseeing the U.S. food supply. So HHS or FDA regulates about 80% of the U.S. food supply. Our friends over at USDA regulate about 20% of the food supply, and that's mostly poultry and beef and similar meat products. So a big portfolio. It also includes things like dietary supplements and other types of food products. So a lot of things in the portfolio, about $1 trillion a year in food and supplements under our provisions.
What is the goal as you see it going forward? We know the food pyramid changes that we have. This idea now, eat real food. Right?
That's
so
right.
What do we mean when we say real food?
Yeah, so what we're saying is that people should be eating the foods that our ancestors have eaten for generations. Right now in this country, 70% of the calories in a normal kid's diet comes from what we consider ultra-processed foods, right? These are foods that you can't make in a home kitchen, often have high levels of sugar, excess sodium, a number of additives, refined carbohydrates in them. And this has really led to a really chronic disease crisis in this country. More than 50% of kids couldn't qualify for military service sitting here today because of either diabetes, prediabetes, or obesity.
Awful.
We are the sickest generation in American history by far. We are first in healthcare spend in the world and 46th in life expectancy. And so we are on a terrible trajectory as a country. And if we can even reverse some of that by eating better, then we will have made a tremendous amount of success in this generation, in this administration, both through life term expectancy, but also just saving money for the federal government. I mean, 90%, Rich, of the money that the federal government spends on healthcare is for patients with chronic diseases. So if we can tackle that a little bit, the amount of money the federal government will save will be tremendous.
And I think about kids, one of the biggest frustrations as a parent is that you'll try to buy your kids healthy food. Then they'll go to the school cafeteria where it is just a Vegas buffet where they can have anything that they want, and it's so much unhealthy stuff. Or they go to a birthday party and the parents are handing out crap and garbage, and it's everywhere.
It is. It's absolutely
and
everywhere.
It's also cheaper.
So, there are elements of that that's true. What I will say is that if you follow the diet and the new dietary guidelines for Americans, if you go to the grocery store, you buy a protein, you buy some fruits and vegetables, you buy some whole grains, you go home and cook that for your family of 4 or 5, it's less money than if you go out to a restaurant and eat. You're going to get fast food 2 or 3 times a day. And so, this is a diet that, if followed, will put money back into the American pockets today in the short term, and again, in the long term, tremendous healthcare savings. But to your point, it is ubiquitous in our diet. Again, 70% of the calories a kid gets are from these ultra-processed foods. There's tremendous work going on at USDA to adopt these dietary guidelines and put them into things like school lunch programs. You've already seen 18 states issue what's called SNAP waivers to remove things like sugar-sweetened beverages and candies from being able to be purchased with SNAP dollars. So basically what we're saying is that if we're going to buy food, and we should be providing these benefits for moms and dads and families that can't afford them, those foods should be nutritious foods. They shouldn't be sugar-sweetened beverages or candies. And so that's been a really successful initiative of this administration and of this government. And there's a number of things like that. Stocking standards is another big project there. And what that means is that we always hear about poorer communities might not have access to these better food products. So the stocking standards revisions that are going on is going to require that stores that accept EBT, food stamp SNAP dollars, are required to stock double the amount of healthy foods that meet these requirements as they have previously. So we're hopeful that that's a step in the right direction. And, look, part of it is, as I've talked about before, is that, we also don't want to be a nanny state government. I mean, that's something that absolutely we don't want to do. We're not trying to tell people that we're going to go ban ultra-processed foods tomorrow. Secretary Kennedy said that on 60 Minutes the other night. We're not banning ultra-processed foods. It's education. It's removing additives and harmful chemicals where the data shows it's appropriate. And it's continuing to work with industry to make healthier products and to give parents choices. And part of our work on that, if I could just spend a minute, is our work on food dyes, which has been a really successful model and campaign for us. It's one of the first things we did when we came into office last year. We got on stage at HHS and we said, we are going to work with industry and we asked industry to meet us on this to remove petroleum-based food dyes from the American diet. It's been a tremendously successful effort. We have well over half of industry that has complied with this. When you look at the volume of sales from those members of industry, it's a significant volume that have made these commitments. And look, no one is saying that removing dyes is the silver bullet and all of a sudden obesity rates are going to go down demonstrably tomorrow. But this is an example of where we can take steps to move the needle on these issues. Petroleum-based dyes, they have zero nutritional value whatsoever. They add no micro or macronutrients to your diet. But what they are used for is to make foods, particularly for kids, more illustrative and more inviting, right? So you see these kids that want the glowing green, candy or the pink lemonade. These dyes are used for that purpose and that purpose alone. And so there's natural alternatives available. And these dyes are also used in foods that predominantly have more sugar in them. So by addressing the dyes, we're able to tackle some of those chronic disease issues.
I would be remiss if I didn't ask about glyphosate. Obviously, there were a lot of people who were unhappy with the decision to keep that. Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, look, I think that the MAHA movement, this is something that Secretary Kennedy has been really passionate about. Glyphosate's been something he's spent a chunk of his career addressing in the legal sphere. This is an issue that is a national security one. There's an executive order that talks about the need and the reality that if you take that away from farmers, up to 80% of farms could go out of business because of the lack of alternatives at this point. So what I would say to our MAHA base and the MAHA community who's upset about this is that the movement is not necessarily linear. You look back at successful societal movements, civil rights, suffrage, other movements across history, there's always setbacks, and people should not become disenfranchised with those stepbacks. Know that Secretary Kennedy, that this administration, that the MAHA movement at large is continuing to advance our agenda. There will be setbacks along the way. This is not a one-year project, a two-year project. This is a decade-long generational project to make America healthy again, and we will continue to execute on the agenda.
Kyle, thanks so much for
joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Great to be with you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Let's go.